In this short bonus episode, Lauren Santerre, spiritual director and Christian mystic, shares her experience of rebirth or resurrection into the role of motherhood and how that's transformed the way she thinks about God. I found the conversation deeply healing, especially the parts about the divine and gender. My favorite Lauren quote from this episode is, "If you think you can't be loved by God, you're deeply, deeply wrong." You can also find a longer conversation with Lauren about a Christian take on death and rebirth today in the Letting Grow feed. Welcome to Letting Grow, the podcast about one of the spiritual journey's most difficult and courageous moments, letting go of who we think we should be so we can grow into who we most deeply are. I'm your host, Claire Villarreal, and I appreciate your joining me today. Last week, we talked about the sort of deaths that were involved in your journey into motherhood, and not that this was like directly involved with motherhood, but like giving up the sort of professional woman persona, giving up the idea that you would never have kids, which I totally relate to. I don't want to have kids. And just, it just sounds like there was so much that you gave up to get to this place, all the things you said you never do, like live in the suburbs and drive an SUV. And now you're here. And what I'm curious about is now that you're here, what does the resurrection look like? You're a couple of years into being a mom. What have you discovered within yourself that maybe would never have been clear before this stripping down process?
Well, that's a great question. So the first thing I want to say is this morning when I was walking with my daughter over at our little community center, she was doing her little like toddler walk, which is super cute. And there was this like feeling of intense love that just washed over my being. And like, I just looked at her and looked at the back of her, and I mean, it was just profound. I don't really know how to describe it other than to say, I mean, it was just feeling awash in love. And in that moment, as in many moments in parenting, I just thought to myself, is this how God feels about me?
Oh my God. Wow. I can't imagine having that thought without having gone through that transition. I'm not sure I've ever had that thought.
I don't think you can. I really don't think you can. It's something that only comes out of that experience. And it's a deep gift. It is a deep moment of resurrection. And so that's one thing. That's one picture that just I would offer. This feeling of like creating this little being that, I mean, it's just so miraculous, like she literally was nothing. She was not.
Right.
And now she is.
Right.
And she has this soul and this personality and this strength and this joy for life and this attitude and intelligence. I mean, she's just this package of a little person that is just a mystery unto herself, and to me. And I look at her and I just think, wow, like, is this how God feels about us? Like when we're born, when we grow, when we become who we're supposed to be in the world, like, does God just look at us and think, oh, I just want to pet you. I just want to, I just want to squeeze your cheeks. I just want to hug you,
I love that image of God.
Yeah, I just feel like that has to be, that just has to be. Because if I feel it in my little tiny mom heart, surely God feels it in God's big heart. So, I mean, that's just a moment of resurrection for me that I have an experience of that I couldn't have otherwise. There's a lot of people right now that I see posting around saying things are hard, but we can do hard things. And to me, that has been a place of resurrection, a place of rebirth for me, of realizing that I can do hard things.
Wow.
Motherhood has been hard for me. I can't say it's been a ride in the park. It hasn't, but it has shown me that there's a lot of strength in me that I didn't know was there. There's a lot of faith for each day. You know, a lot of times I swing my feet over the bed and I just say, Lord, get me through today. Just give me the strength. Give me the strength for today. You know, because the days are long. I mean, they really are, you know, and entertaining a toddler all day is hard. And so that has been a place of resurrection, to learn that strength. And to be a parent with my husband has been a bonding experience unlike any other. I don't want to exactly get into like graphic details, but if you've ever given birth or gone through a C-section, done some labor things, it's not for the faint of heart. And there is something about going through all of that and yet having someone who is still attracted to you and still wants to be with you and still thinks that you're awesome. And that is life affirming, body affirming, such a beautiful gift to have. That has been a huge place of resurrection for me. As far as identity goes, it has been a true moving into the process for me of letting go of, as Tima Chodron says, not taking myself so seriously, of realizing, you know, the things that really matter, the things that are eternal, right? The things that are centered around love, the relationship. I don't know. It's a different stage of life, and I think what I did before was important and good and worthwhile. And I think this is too. And it's just very different. And it's a different place for me in a lot of ways. It's a better fit for me,
oh, wow.
which is surprising.
Interesting.
It's a surprise to me. But because, or maybe it's the good place for me now. I don't exactly know how to say it, but in my 20s, in my early 30s, I was so caught up in my perfectionism. And that really informed so much of what I did and how I worked and how I managed other people and what I expected and the expectations I put on myself, right? As I have gotten older and as I have let a lot of these things die in my life, and as I have become a mother, I am batting way less perfection, which is great. It's great for a type A person. It's a wonderful thing. And I'm peaceful about it. I'm peaceful about it. I'm not necessarily happy about it all the time, but I am peaceful about it, right?
You're not a superwoman.
And that's, yeah. And so, but now I look at it and I think, okay, as I said before, I think I'm a better person now. And
wow.
I think that is a huge place of resurrection for me, because I have so much more grace for other people and for myself. I mean, way more than I ever thought I would, to be quite frank. You know, I used to have all these standards, and now I have grace instead. I'm like, oh, you can't do that? That's okay. That's not a problem. We'll figure out something else. And, oh, you need to reschedule for the 15th time. Well, I get that. I have a toddler, so no problem. We'll reschedule for the 15th time. They're just things that you come to because of life experience. And a lot of that has come through motherhood for me. And so I think that the Lord has really used it, like everything in life, hopefully, to shape me more into that person that's like Christ. And I hope that as I progress as a mother, that I become more and more like Jesus, and with my Lauren flair. But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much what it is for me. It's been a place of letting go. It's interestingly been kind of a place of refuge for me, even though it's been a hard and challenging place. It's been a place without deadlines, and a place without meetings, and a place without high heels, even though I love high heels, but 15 hours a day was a lot. So
you were extremely glamorous. I gotta throw that out there. Your sense of style was like on point.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do, because if you know me, I love clothes, love, and it's a little bit ridiculous. And so now my daily wardrobe is the mom wardrobe of Spanx pants and t-shirt and a ponytail. And I'm like, how did I end up like this? But one day I'll be able to wear high heels again, I guess, or something there, and at least some blue jeans. So
yeah.
But that's okay. It's the season, and heels are not practical when following a toddler around.
No,
so,
they sound dangerous, actually.
Yes, that's probably true. I look at some of these European women that do it with their kids, and I'm like, how do you do this? I don't understand. I don't get it. Because if I wear heels now, it's like a calculated 15-minute period where I have to walk from the car to my destination, and then I get to sit down.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
So, anyways, but yeah, there's lots of wonderful things that have come along with lots of the hard things. But overall, I always say this, and it's really true. Each year of my life has gotten better.
Yeah.
And I'm really thankful for that.
Can relate to that. I have this, I don't know, a question for you that might be completely off topic, but hearing you describe motherhood and your journey in terms of death and resurrection and Jesus template that he offers, it just struck me, that traditionally I feel like people would be maybe looking to the Virgin Mary. And it just struck me what a different template Jesus' story is than Mary's story that kind of ends with the birth of her child. And then she comes back, at the end when he's on the cross. But it just feels very powerful to hear a woman claim motherhood as a way of following Christ. I mean, I know that I'm sure the Virgin Mary can be an empowering image, but I feel like often in sort of Western European history, it hasn't been necessarily. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on that, or if you think I'm completely off base.
Wow. Yeah, that's probably a whole podcast into itself.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah. So I'll say a couple things. One, because I grew up in a Protestant Methodist tradition, they're just really looking a lot of focus on the Virgin Mary. And that's just sort of my reality, my growing up. As I have gotten older, I have done more reading on Mary and Magdalene, especially. And Magdalene is a fascinating figure. There are a lot of sort of female characters that aren't talked about enough in the Western Christian church and tradition. So I'll say that for sure. My second thing I'll say is that to me, or for me, God has become much more female and male together.
Interesting. In
my later life, in the last 10 years. Part of that was a conscious effort, and in the fact that I didn't like all of the male language that was used, especially in church and in songs. And this is, a mother struggle is like a lot of the Christian books for kids. Only male language is very challenging.
Yeah.
Anyways, but
Yeah.
that's a little side note. But for me, the idea of Jesus, I guess I've just taken the life of Jesus and the person of Jesus as just sort of representative of this God person as a whole, right? I mean, I don't know. I think the time and the place, Jesus was a man, and I understand why Jesus was a man for the time and the place. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like if God were to insert God's self in history today, God would be a woman.
Oh my God, that's so healing. Something in me just kind of like resolved some issues with my past just hearing you say that.
Yeah, I do. And I feel like women are in the process of healing our world as much as it can be healed right now. I really do. And I don't mean anything against men, because I love men. I really do. But I do think there's a feminine energy that is divine. It's just, God is made up of both. God is just made up of both, and we need both. And it's sort of like a pendulum. We've had a lot of the other ones, so I think we need some more of the feminine. And I think that's what's going on. But that's, like I said, that's probably a conversation for a whole other time.
Yes.
I think especially too, as a mother now, I deeply feel this motherly love of God that's just so complex and so powerful and so fierce. Fierce is the word I would use. It's fierce,
Right on.
So if you think you can't be loved by God, you are very, very wrong.
Oh, wow.
God is fiercely loving.
Wow. Well, that feels like a good place to wrap up, actually. If you think you can't be loved by God, you are deeply, deeply wrong, because God is fiercely loving. That's so fabulous. Yep. What an amazing gift to take away from the journey sort of giving up so many aspects of who you were, and then of discovering yourself as a mom.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I have personally benefited a lot, learned a lot, and I actually feel pretty healed just through this conversation. Wow. So I really appreciate your time and your thought, and wow, all the best to you on your ongoing journey into sacred motherhood.
Thank you. Well, thank you for taking the time, and it was a pleasure, and hopefully we can chat again.
Yeah.
A little later on.
Thanks for listening as Lauren shared a version of Christian theology informed by her experience as a mom and a mystic. Thanks for coming along for today's exploration of the process of letting grow. If you found this episode helpful, please share it. And subscribe now wherever you listen to podcasts so you're always in the loop. For links to more content related to today's episode, please see the show notes. See you again next week.